The Creative Grids face mask template is a fast way to cut out shaped, double-layered face masks. Our exclusive Creative Grids grip has been added to prevent slipping. Choose from small, medium, or large. All of these sizes are available and marked clearly on one template. For ease, we've also printed a handy guide of elastic sizes right on the template. And to allow you to customize the fit of your mask even more, we've added an optional pleat. To cut out your mask, simply stack 2 coordinating fabric pieces 2 times with right sides together and line up the corner of your preferred size on the corner of the fabric. Then cut around the template with your rotary cutter. There will be a total of 4 pieces, an outer set and an inner set. Follow the instructions included with the template or watch the rest of this video.
So the first thing you're going to do, and I've already done it, is you'll stitch down the center front seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you want to do that to both the outer and the inner. Once that's done, grab a pair of scissors and you'll want to notch out the curve. So this will help the curve to relax when it's all put together and sit nicely over your face. All right, so we want to go to but not through the stitch line every about 1/4 to 1/2 inch or so that we have it trimmed out, you can see. And then we'll do this side as well. All right. Okay. So now, if you have a tailor's ham, I would recommend using it at this point. And what you'll do is you'll want to flatten out your seam to one side. And you can use a hot iron at this point, or, you know, if you have one of these little roll and press devices, that will help too. So we'll do that to both sides. So you'll want to go one direction for the lining and the other direction for the outside of the fabric. So you want to do that all the way down. You'll get the most crisp line on the iron, but if you're making a ton of these, you might just want to finger press or use your roll and press device right at your machine. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to take and put the mask right sides together and make sure you nest those seam allowances so that they're going in either direction, okay? And then you'll grab a pin and nest that seam at the top. And then also here at the bottom. So everything is matching up. Now make sure that your seam allowances are going in the same direction on either side. All right. Okay, so once you have it pinned, then we're going to sew the side seams is your second step. And again, we'll sew at 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure that you back tack at the top and at the bottom to secure your threads. And then flip it around and you'll sew the other side seam, matching up your cut edges. Okay, now we're going to do the elastic. So what you'll do is grab one piece of elastic. The template tells you that based on the size of the mask, you'll use a different size. I'm using 7 inches of elastic because that's what works for me. I'll probably end up wearing this at some point. So feed your elastic up into the side seam so that it sits flush against your stitch line and just peeks out a teeny bit here at the top. And then you put a pin in to secure it. And now you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So now you see the elastic is inserted into either side of the mask along the side seam. Now we're going to sew along the top of the mask. So a little trick that I like to do is I like to start in my center of my seam and go out and go out, and that will give me really a perfect curve on either side of the center seam. It's up to you if you wanted to start at one end and go to the other, either way, but I'm just going to show you how I like to do it because I feel that it really gives you a nice even seam that way, even curve. So we'll start right here in the center at 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we'll stitch Now here we're getting really close to the elastic, so we'll make sure to get rid of this pin so that we don't sew over the pin. And go ahead and catch that elastic in the seam. And I like to back tack a few times just to make sure it's really solid in there. All right. Now I'm just going to flip it over and sew the other side of my curve. So we'll just pick up right where we started. Okay. And you can, now you're going to have a perfect curve that will be the same on either side. So it'll be nice and symmetrical. Okay. Make sure to remove your pin before you continue on. And then back tack a few times to make sure that the elastic is secure. All right. Now we're ready to do the bottom elastic. So you can see it's still sticking out of the bottom. So what you'll do is just push that elastic in so that it lines up equally with the bottom of your mask, and it's nice and snug here against the side seam. Put a pin in, and then just feel it to make sure that the inside elastic is totally away from your edge, and also that it didn't do any like twisting. All right, and then we'll do the same thing over here on the other side. Just push it in, leaving it so that it will catch in the seam when we sew. So here what we're going to do is we'll start at one end, and then we'll leave a gap for turning, and then continue on to the other side. Okay, so let's remove the pin so we don't sew over that. Back tack a few times to secure the elastic. I'm going to stop about here, back tack a little bit so it doesn't pull when I open. Scoot it down. So now we left a nice opening to be able to turn, and we'll finish off our seam here. And again, securing the edge, the end of the elastic. Now before we turn it inside out, what we're really going to need to do is clip this inside curve here. So when it clips, it allows the stitch line to lay nice and flat and curve around. So all I'm just going to do is make a few clips in here all along the curve. So we want to go to but not through the stitch line. All right. Now when this turns, it'll really lay nice and flat. You see how much those clips opened up? All right, so now we're just going to go ahead and turn. You can just use your fingers or a turning tool if you want, but it'll come out really nice. We'll just give the elastic a little tug to get those corners out. Okay, so now you can see the mask is pretty much done. At this point, you can take it over to your iron and give it a good press, and then bring it back to your machine, and you'll want to top stitch all the way around at about a scant 1/4 of an inch, and that will also close the opening from where you turned it. So we'll just stitch around here. Now you'll notice on your template that there is a line to make a pleat. So this is a little something extra that we added to make sure the mask really fits snugly and comfortably on whoever the wearer is. Some people find that they don't need a pleat. It really depends on the size of your head and your face. But if you do need a pleat, there are some marks on the template, and basically what you would do is just mark it with a little chalk or 2 pins, or however you choose to mark your pleat, and then bring the 2 pleat lines together and fold down. And then at that point, you just go ahead and secure that pleat down. And that's it. Very quick. Thanks for watching.